For many people, hitting long irons in the air might just be the hardest thing in golf. In this video, we are going to look at how you can become proficient with your long irons, or maybe slightly controversially, why you should probably just give up hitting them altogether. For me, this is a 5-iron and down. So you've got a 5-iron, a 4-iron, a 3-iron, a 2-iron, and if you're an absolute maniac, maybe a 1-iron. So what is a long iron? Long irons have the lowest loft and the longest shafts. Hey! Now you might say, Pete, 5-iron, surely that's a mid-iron, but I would counter that by saying the way that modern golf clubs have stronger lofts than traditional clubs, I think a 5-iron definitely could be classed as a long iron. But we're not here to argue about semantics. We are here to see if you can strike these clubs better. So help with how to get these long irons in the air. Before we do that, you know what would really help me out? Is if you subscribed to the Swing Quest channel. As we march towards 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube, it will be great to have you part of the community. Now, as we mentioned before, loft is a key consideration. Here I have a pitching wedge, and here I have a 3-iron. Now, when you look down on a 3-iron, it looks like there's hardly any loft on there at all. Whilst when you look at a pitching wedge, it looks like you've got so much loft, so much forgiveness, and so much help to get the ball in the air. Now, what often happens with most golfers is when they look down and see a low amount of loft, the automatic reaction, because the ball is on the ground, this is perfectly natural, is to try and lean back and help the ball in the air. Honestly, most of the issues that golfers have with long irons can be traced back to this movement. When hitting long irons, but pretty much any iron as well, we want the weight to be transferring towards the target, finishing in a nice full position, balanced on the lead side. Players who lean back through impact will generally not transfer their weight through the shot. They will come into impact, understand that that loft is low, and then make this movement coming through. To practice this movement, you can take the ball out of the equation, have a long iron, and just practice turning, transferring weight into that trail foot, and then moving through until you can get into that full finish position facing down towards your target. But there are also some optional extras, because to get out of the rut of leaning back, often we need something a little bit more exaggerated. The first drill that you can use is a step drill, just going down towards the target. This will help break you out of the rut that you might be in leaning back. So again, you don't need to use a ball for this to begin with. Just take it back, but transfer your weight so much through the ball to the extent you need to take a step forward to regain balance. This really just overemphasizes the point, and it's a great drill to use, as mentioned, to break yourself out of a rut if you are leaning back. There's also another step drill that you can use. Me and my golf call it a thunder step. It's simply using your lead foot. So taking it back in the same manner, but with a slightly narrower stance. So turning up to the top, and then before you start your downswing, take a step towards the target. This transfers your weight onto the lead foot. So back, through. To put this in context, Podrick Harrington, who we filmed with a few weeks ago, he still uses this drill for the exact same purpose. As an added extra to those added extras, you can check out this video here all about setup, because in reality, ball position, posture, all these things make a difference with long irons, because the shaft is getting longer, the ball is further away and further forward in the stance. So don't sleep on those basic fundamentals. But what if you've tried a lot of these things? And what if you still cannot hit your long irons up into the air, or you have this common complaint? All my irons seem to go the same distance. Again, this is something which I saw with golfers during lessons, and it's a very common complaint. The reason is because of club head speed. As the clubs get longer, you should be able to generate more power and more speed, but because the loft is so low, the launch is also going to be lower, unless you generate a significant amount of power. That is a reason why most of your clubs will feel like they're going all the same distance, because it doesn't carry as far. So your 3-iron and your 8-iron, they might even be carrying the same distance. So on a wet course especially, it might feel like they're all doing exactly the same job. And this is where I say something I don't normally say. It might be time to actually change your golf clubs. It's often cited that it's the archer, not the arrow. The bow often gets forgotten in this conversation, but we don't need to go into that now. But in this circumstance, the club can make a huge difference. For example, that 3-iron that I was just hitting only has slightly more loft than this 7 wood, which I have here at 21 degrees. Now, I can pretty much guarantee that every single golfer watching this will be able to get a 7 wood in the air much easier than they would a 3-iron. So even though this club has slightly less loft than my 3-iron, it is launching a lot higher. The reason for that is in the club head design. You can see here how much bigger and how much more mass there is in this club head compared to the 3-iron. Now, when I'm talking mass, I'm just talking about volume, I'm not talking about weight. But what manufacturers can do is they can place more weight in a fairway wood deeper back in the head. This again can aid forgiveness, but it can also aid launch. Another option is a hybrid, which is a combination of an iron and a fairway wood. But if I'm being honest, for most golfers, this is the club that gets me most excited. A high lofted fairway wood. Also, you'll notice the shaft. Now, this is a carbon shaft as compared to a steel. Generally speaking, it's not always the case, but generally speaking, these shafts will be lighter than steel, which means you should be able to move the club head a little bit faster, so generating more power and more speed. Also, with a fairway wood, you can get the kick point lower in the shaft. That means there's more of a flex point down here, and that will again launch the ball that little bit higher. So by all means, use these golf tips. Try and get your long irons a little bit further up into the air. But if you are struggling, the chances are you might be better off with one of these clubs, a fairway wood or a hybrid. Something which you'll also be better off doing is checking out these Swing Quest videos here to further improve your game.